Welcome to episode number 5. And in the last episode, we sent this train over the hump and had these cars sorted. But I don't want them there now, and we're going to put the hump bull on hold. So I'm just going to delete these cars out of here. And we also have the rest of our train over here because it got stuck. So I'm just going to clear that out. And I'm actually going to put the hump bull and sending in supply trains on hold. So I'm going to open up the traffic generation, and I'm going to slide this all the way down so we don't generate any trains from here. We'll keep all this traffic going, and we've got a few now. If I go to the status, like we got 23 trains going across the map. So this is filling up really nicely, and pretty soon I might want to dial, maybe I will now, I'll dial this up to 15 minutes and 20 minutes just to slow it down a little bit, and we'll see where that goes. But the reason that I want to hold off on sending in more supply trains at this point is I want to configure the industries further. We started with the latest Depot Plus industry configuration, but I want to take it even further because I like to configure the industries for the car counts and the car types. So we're going to do that next. So what I want to do first is I want to open up the industry list, and I'm going to click up here, industry configuration. So this is the current Depot's configuration that we had installed a few episodes ago. And in the top right, I want to hit export industry configuration. And on the top left, you'll see file written. So that means that it's saved the industry configuration to a spreadsheet on the hard drive. So now let's go check that out. So I'm in my Run 8 folder, and I'm going to go to Content, and then V3 Routes, Regions, Southern California, and look at this new file here, Industry Configuration CSV. And if I open it up, it's going to open up this CSV file, and you can expand it so that you can see all the columns, and it gives us the industry names, incoming tags, all this info. And what I did is I moved it into my spreadsheet, which I'm sharing with all of you guys. I'll show you that in a second. And I've completely changed the formatting and removed some columns and added some columns. So I've got the industry name here, incoming tag, local symbol, the car type that the industry takes, max amount of cars, and then some new columns here, build sequence and industry stops. And this is what we're going to work on today to build a local train. And we're going to do it for one of the base game local jobs. I want to show you real quick right here on my Google Drive. I decided, I'm building this world from scratch, and I'm not just using it for the demo, like I'm actually going to play it, and we're going to do this for the next 20 years. We're going to be working on this map. So I'm sharing the files with you. So I got the industry config and hump config, and then I'm saving the folders. So every time I make an update, I'll have a new folder with date here, and then you can go in. So if you had to go back in time, you can. And the same with everything else. So my operations spreadsheets are dated. If I make updates, that's got all the BNSF symbols, Union Pacific symbols, local jobs, all for Southern California, and then the spawn points and train symbols. And then as I make updates and add symbols there too, I'll make them available. So it's up to you if you want to at any point just stick with the ones I've got and keep updating, or if you maybe started with the original ones I used and then you're just going to branch off on your own and do it on your own from there. It's totally up to you. All right, so the next thing I need to do to work a local job here in the base game is I'm on the Depot server website, and I clicked on maps at the top, and now I've got route maps. So what I want to do is I want to download this Mojave map, because in the base game you get Barstow Yard. So that's probably a good one to download, but that's going to give you all the detail. But the Mojave map here is going to give you Barstow Yard overview plus everything around it. I also want to download the Needles map because that's included. Okay, now on Needles page 1, you can see up at the top, we got 3 industries: energy, transportation, ENT, Newberry Ballast Pit, and REOX. So those are the 3 that we're going to start out with because it's really close to Barstow, and it'll be simple to work on. But I'm looking at this map, and I'm wondering what local job are these a part of? I got the industry names here, but I don't know the local job. So there's two different things that I can do to figure out what local this is a part of. The first thing that I could do is go to the depot's website, go to Reference, Yard and Customer Tags, which brings you to this page, Southern California, scroll down, sort by local, and then I can just do a Control F search, and I could search for REOX, I think it was, R-H-E, yeah, there it is, REOX. There's the picture. So I could see here, this is BNSF LCal 1161 out of Barstow Yard, and it's on Needles page 1. So that's another thing I could have looked for as well, is search for anything under the Needles map here. And I'd see, on page 1, that's the one, milepost 725. So if I click LCal 1161, it's going to show these 3 industries that are part of that local job. Now in my industry configuration spreadsheet, I'm going to go up to local symbol here, and I'm going to filter out, uncheck all of them, and I'm going to do a search for LCal 1161. I'm going to make sure they're all unselected. Just select that one, hit OK. Okay, so we've got everything for LCal 1161, but there's already a difference here because this one's showing cars for ACE interchange, and over here, that's not on this list. It's got the other 3, Newberry, Reox, and Tetra, but nothing for ACE interchange. Inside of Run 8 here, if I open up that industry list again, sort by local symbol, and I look for the LCal 1161, you can see here again, we got ACE interchange, Newberry, Reox, and Tetra. So we got a discrepancy, but it's not a big deal. The ACE interchange, I already know what it is, but if you didn't know, it's a bit tricky because over here, these industries tell you what map page and what milepost. But since it's not listed here, how do we know where the ACE interchange is? Here's a great way to find out. We'll hit F10. I'll open up that industry list again. All right, and now in my industry list, I can sort these again, go down to the LCal 1161. Here it is. And now I'm going to click on this one for ACE interchange, and I'm going to use this transport button, and that's going to take me to the industry tracks. So now I can hit escape to close this window, and this is the ACE interchange here. And if I turn on the industry tags, oh, look at that. It even works so this new colorblind mode here, up here on message options, colorblind tag mode you could turn on. It puts some black behind the dots and the PHX. So if I had turned that off, that's how it used to look. But it gives you a little bit of maybe I'll leave it off for now, but it's kind of nice on the rail car tags. So this is, all these tracks here are PHX, and this is the interchange. And this is the interchange. ACE is Arizona, California Exchange, I believe it stands for. And that's because these tracks are going east towards Flagstaff, Arizona, and then these tracks to the right here are going down towards Phoenix. So what they are talking about here is they want you to drop the cars over here on this yard, and then they'll be exchanged out with the Arizona, California Railroad, and then you pick up the cars that they drop off for you and bring them back to Barstow Yard to be reclassified. Now, since we transported out here, though, I don't know where on the map I am. And this isn't telling me anything. Are we in Needles? Are we in Seligman? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the nearest CTC switch. So I need a crossover. Here's one right here. Perfect. Look for the nearest switch that looks like that. Not the manual switches. It's got to be this style. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand on it. Now I can open up F3, open up this screen, and look at, we're in the needle sub right here at the top. See the purple flashing right here? So we're at East Cadiz. So this is where, right in here is where the ACE interchange is. So by using this technique, we can find out where we are on the map. And now that we know that we're on the Needles sub at East Cadiz, I could go back to my Needles map from the depot, Keep scrolling down until I find CADIS. There it is, West and East CADIS. And sure enough, there's the Arizona and California Eastern Railroad Transfer, CDZ and ACE. So I'm not sure why the depot doesn't have it here, but they do have it in the industry config. And also, I just noticed that energy transportation is not in the list. So maybe they're no longer servicing. I think they're maybe out of business. But they have Newberry Ballast Pit, Reox there. And then the other one is all the way over here, Tetra Technol Inc. And that's on page 3 near milepost 660, which it says on the depot website reference. So that helps a lot. And then that's not too far from the Arizona and California exchange there in CADIS. So we'll keep that. And I noticed up there as well, see Hillbros Chemicals? That's also not in the industry configuration. Back in here, I can go up to data clear so that it erases the filter. I can go to industry name, and then I'm going to search for Hillbros or just Hill, and there's no matches. So that Hillbros Chemicals on the map, but they must not be servicing it anymore. So I'm going to filter again by the LCAL 1161. The next thing I need to do is I need to download some third-party software from the depot forum under the Run 8 support third-party support page. And you're going to find the order builder. And you can either download 1.23 or I've got the new unstable version 1.24. So we'll see how it works. And if you scroll down, you can see both of them right here, 1.23 and 1.24. And this thread is where all the changes and updates are going to be made. So you might want to bookmark. I should hit watch here so it saves. Let's do email notifications. So if there's an update, then I'll know. I'm still over here in East CADIS, but I want to get to that first industry, Newberry Ballast Pit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F9. I like to use this one. This is the industry configuration because in SoCal, there's so many industries. Sometimes when you go to open up your industry list, it actually takes a good 5 seconds. The first time it opens right away. And then like the second time or after, sometimes it takes a while. So I'm going to scroll down, but in this one, this industry configuration, it always opens right away. And then all your industries are alphabetical. So I'm going to go to Newberry Ballast Pit, and I'm going to hit transport, and then hit escape. And now I'm at the ballast pit, and if I turn on the industry tags, you can see here's the tracks, and they're tagged new. So they go all the way to there, and then if I turn around, they go all the way to there. So I can turn them back off. So the local freight symbol is LCAL 1161. Tracks are assigned new. And then we know that it takes ballast hoppers. We're looking for text here. And it takes ballast hoppers and it takes open hoppers. So just those two. And then if I look at ballast hopper, the capacity is 24 and the hours are 24. And it produces loads. And if I click filter, these are all unchecked, which means any of these ballast hoppers can be spawned in on a supply train. And then if I go to open hopper, capacity 24 and hours 24, produces loads. And again, they've got nothing checked. So if like I checked this one, then when I spawned in a supply train, it would only ever spawn in this type of car. There might be 10, 20, whatever, but it would only be this livery, this type of rock car, or this one, or I could do multiple. But if they're all unchecked, it's going to spawn any of these. It'll spawn in a whole variety. But I don't want that because just for my mind, I don't like the look if I've got auto floods and like a rock car, and then like coal hoppers, because these are all open hoppers, all different sizes and models. So I like to have some consistency just for my own visual enjoyment. I like that. I prefer that. And that's why I'm going to configure the industries further. Now, another thing is I've spent hours and weeks in Run 8 configuring industries in this menu. But what I've learned, you actually don't even really need to use this, or just barely. We're going to only use this a little bit if we have to change an industry name or local symbol, or maybe add an industry. But otherwise, all this stuff like capacity hours, what it produces, the filter. I'm going to show you, there's now a new better way, and that's the order builder, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I got my order builder open, and I'm going to hit manage customers. And then right here, we're in Southern California. I'm going to look for Newberry Ballast Pit. And there it is. I click it, and you can see it's got one order, and it's for 24 empty ATSF rock hoppers. So you can see already there's a difference. And all the stuff, all the information in here is from the depot, their most current configuration. So you could see here it's only wants this BSC 3420 ATSF rock. But back here under the configuration that we got with the also from the depot, under open hopper, if I go to filter, none of these are checked. ATSF rock isn't checked, so it's going to spawn in any of these, but we don't want that. So this is just another reason why I'm just ignoring all this. I don't even want to use this. I'm only utilizing this info here and the track assignment, just in case I have to get back to this industry. So in the order builder, this looks good. We got ATSF rock, and you could see here you got under customer details, NEW is the ID, Newberry Ballast Pit is the industry name, the local LCAL 1161, region Southern California, and routing tag, look at this, BAR space 1161. When we spawn our train in, as you'll see later, this is going to appear on the freight cars, and we won't have it put that in, just this routing tag. If you look at this routing tag, this is what we needed on episode 4 when we were sending that supply train with the LCAL 1161 over the hump, because that's what the configuration was looking for. Just these digits, 1161, it would have worked. But because we didn't have it that way, that's why they went down the wrong track and we had to change it to this. But I'll show you that more in depth later. So now if I click on it's looking for 24 empty rock hoppers, and if I click edit order, it's looking for empties, and if I scroll down, you can see here, it's only got that first ATSF BSC 3420 checked. So that's the only one that'll spawn. If I wanted other ones, I could check other ones. So that looks good. And then over here, override car generation probability. I'm going to check this, and usual number of cars, it has 12. But I'm going to switch this up to 20 because I want there to be more here. And I'm going to leave the variability at 20. So that just means that when I spawn in this local train or spawn in as a supply train, and I've got this industry and local job on there, it's normally going to spawn in 20 cars with a 20% variability. So it'll probably be somewhere around 18 to 22 or so, somewhere in that range every time. It'll be random. And then I'll hit save. And now I want to make sure that I can get 24 cars in there. And now also I like to look at the type of car, because maybe I want to change what freight car this industry is going to take. Now I'm back on the depot website, and if I click reference rolling stock database, there's a really handy tool where you can click the car type, and I can look for like C14 hopper or ballast hopper, or select the model or add-on pack or car properties. But there's a lot of options in here. So like I'm looking for the rock. Oh, here we go. Rock hopper. And then here's the ATSF rock. It's got all the details of that specific car. And then it says for rock. And I can click the picture and see a much bigger picture. What I did is I took the details and images and I put them into a PDF file, because for me, this is way easier to see all in one shot, all the open hoppers in this one PDF. So I can scroll over here to the page that's got rock hoppers, and there it is at the top right, this ATSF rock car. So now I know what it looks like, and that's fine. I'll go with that. I don't want to change it. I'll stick with it for this one. And now inside of run 8 here, it was saying in the order builder, it said 24 cars. I'm going to go to open hoppers. I'm going to scroll down to ATSF rock, and I'm going to add in with the right arrow 24, because that was the maximum. And I'll hit place train. And you could see there, they clearly fit 24. So that looks fine. But What if I just want to change it and let's make it 25. We'll add one more. Back in the order builder, I'm just going to click this order, hit edit, and up at the top right, maximum cars, I'm going to change it to 25. Hit save, and now this order is going to have a maximum of 25 cars. Control F1 to bring up the train maker upper. I'm going to take a few of these out of here because I want to put some down for when we got to make a pickup. So I'll do 17, and I'm going to do random reverse. And I only have to do this for the first pickup because we're starting with an empty map. In the future, you're going to be making pickups and drop-offs. You're never going to have to place down cars to be picked up for you because once it gets moving, you're going to be bringing them in with the train. But for this first one, I got to put these down. And then it says that in the order builder, the order is for empties. So since these are going to be ready for pickup, I need to hit the first one, hold shift, scroll to the bottom, and then click that one so they're all selected, and then hit full up at the top for wait. And now they all get loaded and they kind of bounce a little bit because they're weighing down on the springs, which is a really neat feature. If I emptied them, they'd actually be higher off the ground because there's less weight. So now they're loaded, and then what I want to do here is going back into the tagger, and I'm just going to change. So normally if I go back into the industry config, one of these tags would be on the cars. But I'm not even worried about any of this. What I'm going to do is just go back into the tagger here, hold shift so they're all selected, and at the top, I'm just going to type in Barstow Yard. Now all these cars are tagged Barstow Yard, and if I turn on the tagger, you can see they're tagged Barstow Yard because that's where I need to bring them back to. I'm not worried about where they got to go after that yet. Once they're back at the yard, then the yard master will worry about classifying them and where they got to go after with their full loads of rock. So at this point, we're all set with the Newberry ballast pit. We're ready to go. The next one we'll look on the map. Right next to us is Reoxync. We're going to take a look at that one next. Now I know it's just right up there at that, looks like a big grain elevator, but I'm just going to open up the industry config again, and I'm going to look for Reox because this is just a great way to get around. There it is. And then I have to hit transport. Okay, so now we're at Reox here, and you could see it was just down the way because there's the cars we were just working on over there in the distance. And at Reox, in the order builder, RHE, there it is, Reox. And it's got an order for 7 loaded C14 hoppers. And here's the different types. And I can open up my PDF that I made for the covered hoppers. So I can see right here, we got C14s on this page, the first 2 pages. So I can quickly see what they're going to look like. These 2 BNSFs, we got a CAGX down here. We got a CSX01 right here, a GAT01, and then a UP02 right here. So that all looks good. And it's taken 7 loads, so that looks fine. And I'm not going to check this override car generation down here. We'll just leave it like this. So that all looks good. Now in here, let's put some down. So I'll go to covered hoppers, and it takes the GAT01. Let's do a BNSF02, and let's do a, what was the other one? GAT and a UP02. Let's do that. I'm going to right click this one to reverse it, just, to make things a little different. We'll drop them down under here, hit escape, and now we got 3 there ready for us to pick up when we work this. And I'm going to open the tagger, and I want them to be empty because the order is to bring in loaded ones. So if these are ready for pickup, they should be empty. And again, I'm going to put Barstow Yard in here because that's where they got to go back to. And now we got Reox configured. Also, I need to note in Order Builder here, all this data for all these customers, for all these industries, is saved in an Excel file. And I'll share this with you on Google Drive. So it's up to you if you want to start your own and branch off from what I'm doing, or if you want to just download what I got and keep it updated with what I'm doing. Totally up to you. So now back in our Needles map, There's Reox we just finished, and we only got one more industry. And if I go down to page 2, it's not there. Page 3, there it is. Tetra Technol Inc. TAT. Control I, or for me it's F9, and I want to look for the T's. And I'm looking for Tetra Technologies is what they got in here. LCal 1161. I'll hit transport. And where are the tracks? There they are. If I turn on the industry tags, you can see there's the TET. So we're at the right industry, and I can kind of zoom out here. Under the filter here, I just got to type in TET. There's Tetra Technologies. And now they got 2 orders in here. So they're taking 5 loaded tank cars, 105s and 107s, and these liveries. And then 5 loaded corrosive acid cars. 5 is and that's the max. So let's see if I go into edit. So they don't have that checked. So I can come in here in the tanks. And now since this is a square, if I check it again, you get a check mark. And if there's a check mark, that means every single one is selected, but we don't want that. So I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to go back into edit, go back down to the tanks. And since it's a square, that means only some are selected. And I can also make this bigger by dragging here, which is really nice. So I can see, all right, we've got these tanks are what it's expecting. And again, I can open up my PDF I made for tank cars. So it's taken 2 105s right here. We've got a 105 AGFX and a BNSF. So I can see those quickly. And then 107s, go to the next page. Here's all the 107s. So I can quickly see, and I could say, yeah, that looks good. Like I'm fine with those. There's some I don't. Or, sometimes what I'll do is a lot of these 107s, I think all of them are like very old school from a while ago. So the quality of the skins are not as good. But if you go down to these 104s and these 389s, all of these are brand new skins. So sometimes I might want, technically, maybe it's not the right car for this industry, but I'll switch it out once in a while to one of these because they just look fantastic. And hopefully, eventually Run 8 updates. I think they're planning at some point to update the rest of those old tankers to this better quality. But for now, I'll leave this one. I think this is fine. And then we got the 2 acid tankers. If I go back, let's see, I'll hit cancel. So acid dirt, the 105. So if I go back here's the 2 acid. So there's a clean, it's the same car, but this one's all dirty and old and this one's clean. So that's fine there. And then it's saying 5 of both. So it could have a maximum of 10 cars. So just to test this out, let's go to tank cars. And the longest ones were the 107s. So let's do 5 of those, and then let's do just 5 of these 105s. So this would be like the most that would be in here. Yeah, that works fine as a max if that ever happened. So that's good. So I'd say this looks good here in Order Builder. We don't really have to do anything there. Oh, now we got to do PHX. But PHX is not even in here. So that was that exchange. So I'll say let's leave it out for now. Let's keep things simple. We'll just go with what's in here. So we won't do that. So now that I've got these 3 industries configured, and we didn't really have to do anything because Order Builder's really updated well, and everything's already configured really good in there. So all I did, I think, was change a little bit on Newberry Ballast Pit. All right, so now I'm back at Barstow Yard. But before we can create this local train, I need to plan out the route. And we'll do that in episode number 6. So stay tuned.